I'm Managing Director of Abundance Generation. We're an FCA-regulated platform that allows people to invest directly into renewable energy projects in the UK. We were the first new regulated retail open to anyone thing since the FSA was founded and now has been turned into the FCA. As Raj mentioned, I also go back a long way in terms of alternative finance because I was involved in the creation of Zopa, which was the first peer-to-peer lending. And I was involved because I'm an anthropologist. Obviously, that's the first thing you think of when you think to start a bank, is an anthropologist. And I'd been studying money with banks like Egg and so on for a little while, just living with people, watching what they do, and it was all a bit strange to the bank that people seemed to do things that they didn't like. And people were saying that the banks were doing things that they didn't like either, so it was generally a good conversation. And I thought about transforming my finances today, so one way I could transform my finances, and for me, actually, this is the nadir, actually, of finance. It was about the beginning of the 90s, and it was the invention of the National Lottery. Probably the worst thing that happened to money in the UK. So I can transform my finances right now. I've got a top prize of 100 grand on this, for which I paid £2, which actually on those odds, I don't think I can even be bothered. The other way I transformed my money recently is I put all of my pension into a SIPP, which is entirely invested in renewable energy debentures, which are part of what our company sells. We sell 25-year investments in renewable energy that pay somewhere between 6 and 8% IRR, which is better than I was getting from the stock market for the last decade. So I just moved my money completely, took it out of 4 pensions and stuck it into my own SIPP and bought 100% debentures. So you can move your money if you want to. I'm a director, a non-exec director on the Move Your Money board, and we're trying to convince people that moving your money is actually now more about, not just about moving your current account. It needs to be about moving your money too. You've got to actually move it out of the system. You've got to take the money off people, because the essay question I think we're given is, why do we need to democratize finance? And I think it's fundamentally that if you don't take control of where your money goes, you've only got yourselves to blame. We make the markets that we deserve. We are in control of the whole process. The idea, markets are just an idea, okay? Someone thought it up and sold it to the world. You can remake markets. Zopa is a market that was, every single economist that looked at it said it wouldn't work. 9 years later, 300 million quid, the lowest bad debt rate in the UK, it works. It works because we make it work like eBay. We actually trust people. We don't trust them completely. We're not stupid. But we do trust them to the point where they're rational, autonomous individuals who have a social conscience. And it's the last bit that was the missing bit from the way that markets were seen to operate. And I think one of the problems is that we're sort of in this strange sort of political hinterland about money at the moment. If you talk to an MP about money, they don't understand a word you're saying. And the reason is that money is not really owned by anyone at the moment. And we let it sort of float about as if it doesn't matter. And the point is, it does matter. But I spent many hours talking to different columnists to try and get them to write about money. I managed it with one who writes about it quite a lot in The Guardian. And I tried last night to get a couple of the Times columnists to write about it, but they were more interested in the fact that I'd invented Hendrick's gin. Which is, as an anthropologist, I study both drink and money. I thought, well, you can't lose on that. So it's the two things coming together. But for me, it's a sort of a war. I think James Vaccaro talked about it a bit like that. It's a cultural war. It's not an economic one. You're not going to win the economic war because then you're fighting on their terms. You've got to win the cultural war. You've got to take money back in terms of the language, which is a form of revolution. The barricades are slightly different. They're a little bit more intellectual, a little bit less fighting. But I still think there should be some fighting. Okay, where it's too easy. The thing that really scared the banks, really scared, was the fact that they saw a big queue of people standing outside Northern Rock on television. The thing they don't want you to see is the number of people who are actually moving their accounts. That's what they're scared of, people doing stuff. Actually, what they want us to do is to believe that we have no power in this. And I think, intellectually, we're a little bit at fault for putting too much jargon around money, scaring people off money. What we really need to do is say, actually, creating a financial service company, you can do it. We had an anthropologist, an environmentalist, and a banker, which sounds like a bad joke. All right? But we created a company that's raised 2.3 million quid for the renewable energy sector, direct from the public, £5 minimum investment, £5 to £50,000 being the sort of investments that we get. And we've done it. It's possible to do. And it was difficult, it's not easy, but it is possible to do it. You can take the control back. And we've got ordinary investors. They're people saving for their pensions. They're people who have been essentially disillusioned with the normal financial system. So I think for me, democratizing finance is quite simple. We live in a democracy. You vote. But we seem to sort of throw away all idea that we can make decisions when we walk into a bank. So my solution to that is don't walk into a bank. It's the bank that makes you feel like you have no power. It's the bank who wants you to feel like you need them to make this decision. So don't walk into the bank. Walk into somewhere where you feel in control of the decision, which, interestingly, is online, which most young people understand pretty well and can buy lots of things. So why don't they just go and buy their investments that way instead? Thank you.